It is what it is. You ever hear that statement? I remember when Nick Saban first started coaching at Alabama, and they had lost to Louisiana Monroe, I think it was, and he had a player that was suspended, and he brought the player back in. I think it was the game. I may be getting my games mixed up. But anyway, a reporter asked Nick Saban about bringing this player in that was suspended, supposed to be suspended, and bringing him back in so that they could try to win the game. And Nick Saban's response was, it is what it is. And in the mortgage business, for me anyway, that's not true. Sometimes what it is what it needs to be. Bill, you're talking crazy. So here's what I mean by that. Someone comes in and we try to get them pre-approved and their debt to income ratio is too high, but they've got the wherewithal, they've got the money in the bank to pay off this credit card, and now their debt to income ratio goes from 52% to 49%. Voila, we've got an approval. Couple stories in my career where we did this and we took someone from no approval to approval. I remember one lady that she was working and she was an hourly employee and she had gotten married. She went on vacation and she missed some time. So her average income had dropped. And so she went back to her employer and said, hey, what if we just moved me to a salaried position? And there were some things going on in the company and they were able to move her from an hourly employee to a salary employee. So now as a salary employee, that missed time was no longer a factor. We didn't have to worry about that anymore. Had another guy that was a mechanic for a local auto shop, and he got paid variable income as well. If you know the way the mechanics get paid, they get paid by book hours. I think there's another term for it that they use, but they don't go to work for 8 hours and get paid 8 hours. It depends on how many hours the book says that break job is going to take. And so if the book says 3 hours and they get it done in 1 hour, they got 3 hours worth of pay for 1 hour's worth of work. Same token, if it takes them 4 hours, they got 3 hours worth of pay. So in his case, he went back to his employer because we couldn't qualify using that income, went back to his employer and said, hey, is there any way I can get put on salary so that I can get qualified and get approved for my home loan? And great employer, they accommodated him. And so what they did was they averaged his income out that he had made over, I think at the time he had been working there for 9 months. They averaged his income out and said, this is what you make per month. This is going to be your salary. So they put him on salary. And while we couldn't use the variable income, now that he's on salary, we were able to get him approved. And I'm thinking one more instance, there was a guy that was working as a counselor, and he was working at a particular clinic. And again, 1099, I've started to say 1099 employee. There's no such thing. If you're 1099, you're self-employed. So he was self-employed working as a counselor at a particular clinic. And again, as self-employed person, we weren't able to get him approved. Went to his employer, went to the clinic owner and said, hey, can we make me an employee and put me on salary? So all they're doing is changing some things in the payroll and changing the consistency in which the person is getting paid. And that removed the hurdle for us to being able to approve them. And now in each of those cases, we were able to get people into their new home. And so sometimes we've got to look at what can we change, whether it's paying off a debt, whether it's changing our pay structure. Oftentimes our conversation is centered around what can we change. It's imperative, it's critical that what we say is true. So sometimes we have to change the facts. So now this thing that we need to be true is true. Don't ever lie to get a home loan. If you do, you committed a felony. And I tell people the chances of getting caught, pretty slim, to be honest with you, if the loan goes through the underwriting process. But the consequences of getting caught can be catastrophic. And so it's not worth it. And anyway, just thought I'd share those stories with you. If you've been told no, you can't get a home loan, maybe it's worth a conversation at least. I hope this helps.